Right here on the front page, it says opposition meets the president, presses a demand for Prime Minister's statement on Manipur. So let's shift our focus to Manipur over here. There's this big news about a mass burial that's going to take place in Manipur. What's all that about?
35 victims, they would be buried in a mass burial that will be carried out and felicitated by the Tribals Forum, and because of that, tensions are quite high in Manipur, and also there is a huge alert that has been put out by the administration there to ensure that this does not become an emotional point of a place where it could, become difficult as such. So that is something that we are in fact tracking as well. This is by the Tribal Forum. I think this burial is being planned by, and
how many people did you say were going to be
35 buried? Victims of the riot is what I understand.
35 victims.
And I'll just read out some of the online articles that were there. From morning I was been tracking that, and here Manipur steps up security for mass burial.
Tribal body plans mass burial today. Manipur on high alert. The Manipur police on Wednesday sounded a high alert and stepped up security in different parts of the state after the ITLF announced that it would hold a mass burial ceremony on Thursday of the 35 people who died in the ethnic clashes. The Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, the ITLF, is an umbrella body of different tribal groups. The group said it would bury the Kuki-Zo martyrs, is what they call them, at the S. Boljang village near the Churachandpur-Bishnupur border around 11 a.m. So at 11 a.m. today, we're going to expect that particular big
also, I'll just make
mass burial.
Sorry to just interrupt, but let me tell you how the situation is when we are talking about these bodies. The bodies, including that of 3 women, okay, of the 35 bodies, preserved with the help of white pumpkins, a traditional practice, and ice slabs, are currently at the Churachandpur district hospital. There are only 9 cold storage units in that hospital. Okay, 9 cold storage units. So this is how they are in fact preserving it. Very crude method, but that is the only option with white pumpkins.
So they're using white pumpkins
and ice slabs to preserve the body.
To preserve the body, and this is a traditional practice.
I mean, it is doing because there is only 9
and these are 3. These are 3. The bodies of the 3 women out of the 35 bodies that are going to be buried today.
So the Indigenous Tribals Leaders Forum had earlier this week announced this mass burial on August 3rd. Now, the COCOMI, which is that influential civil society group, has said that there would be unwanted consequences if the burial took place at Torbang Bangla, government land in Methi-dominated Bishnupur district. So already there is tension mounting over this. The ITLF has said that the burial is planned as an open field in S. Bolijang village, which falls in Churachandpur district. Now, Churachandpur district is the epicenter of this violence, Kabir. From May 3rd onwards, we have seen the violence actually escalating from all this.
I mean, respecting the departed, isn't that what connects us with the other realm? I mean, it connects us with faith. When a company goes bankrupt, it doesn't really take pain. I mean, a company can't feel anything, right? The idea goes bankrupt. Similarly, the idea of identity, about community, about gods, these are, fictional notions. They don't necessarily feel hurt, but the human life, it takes physical damage. We're talking about 35 people. And when we're trying to respect the departed, you're hearing about there could be complications. You're hearing about don't do it here, do it there. You're hearing about more security forces that are being brought in.
In fact, when you say, you're talking about Rapid Action Force, Central Reserve Police, Assam Rifles, and even the army has been mobilized in that particular area to avoid any untoward incident because of this mass burial that is going to happen. So it is very, and the ITLF has also given out a warning of sorts.
It says here, look at this. The ITLF should not play with the dead. There is heavy security in the area. Hope the politics of playing over the dead is not allowed by police and government. The Metis took the bodies of their relatives and performed the final rites at their own homes. Such a mass burial site will only fan tensions and not let the 2 communities live peacefully. So, says spokesperson of the COCOMI.
So what happens is, I think the fear is this: when you have a mass burial site like this, it could become a shrine and a reminder of the violence. All right, it becomes a reminder of the violence.
You already have the wall of remembrance.
Yes, you have the wall of remembrance that was already there, and then you have this particular mass burial site that could become an issue for both, because it becomes a remembrance site for both of them. And since it becomes a remembrance site for both of them, I think that is what is worrying, that it would create the, I was saying that it's a generational kind of a trauma that will be, spoken for generations together among the Cookies and the Meiteis on this particular issue. So this mass burial site could be a pointer to the Cookie community, or a historical kind
What's
of.
Your take? What's your take on this? COCOMI saying that don't do politics over the dead. On the other hand, 35 people respecting the departed, the entire emotional value over it, and you rightly pointed out, it will become sort of like a mural of sorts.
It will mural of sorts and become a historical place of sorts to remember what has happened. So it will be a community kind of a thing.
Sort of like solidifying.
It's solidifying what has happened. So now see, it's
them
like
as
this.
Victims and martyrs.
Martyrs. So that is where the COCOMI is coming and saying you're playing politics rather than trying to respect the burial.
But isn't that right to a certain extent?
See, this is a very grey area, Kabir. A very grey area to speak about when it comes to mass.
It's a challenge for the government.
It is going to be, of course, it's going to be a challenge for the administration now, but I would say for them still it is just a legal challenge that they are looking at. But here, what we should actually focus on is that it's such a grey area. You have to respect the people of the community who have died. You're looking at how this particular issue could become one of those things where the issue is about how the historicity of that event. So now that historicity of that event is what we have to in fact focus on, and because the historicity of that event is something that we are not focusing on, that could be a concern.
These visuals that we're playing, Varghese, just to tell the viewers and for your benefit as well, this is a batch of the Meitei community people who have essentially come back to Mizoram, come back from Mizoram and have come into Imphal. That's what's happening over there.
Okay.
So another set of exodus. And in the Indian Express, I was reading somewhere inside. Let me just quickly take a look at that. Over 14,000 school children displaced due to violence in Manipur. 14,000 people.
There are a lot of children that are in these relief camps, and they are under severe trauma as well. There have been stress busting programs that have been put up in these camps so that the children can be engaged into something. They are not sure whether they'll go back to their
Well,
home.
over 14,000 school children displaced due to violence in Manipur. This is the government's reaction to Rajya Sabha, their statement. More than 40,000 school children have been displaced due to ethnic violence in Manipur. The Ministry of Education told the Parliament on Wednesday over 93% of these children have been admitted to the nearest possible education facility that they might have had. And that's the situation right now on the ground. So you've got a mass burial that's going to take place. People are saying there's clear politics going on, trying to play politics over the dead. On the other hand, you've got the the ITLF that is saying that these are martyrs. These are 35 martyrs, traditionally kept preserved bodies, like you pointed out, the white pumpkin and the ice slabs. But the point that you were making, that these were 3 women who were kept in a morgue that could only hold 9 bodies. Was it overburdened? And I'm sure the situation across all morgues is going to be a little problematic.
It's going to be very difficult because you're not expecting the size and scale of this kind of situation that we are looking at. So because we are not looking at the size and scale of the kind of situation that we are looking at, we are going to see these kind of traditional preserving techniques that are going to be used, and that's why they've been pushing for the mass burial as immediately as possible. But as to the earlier question that we were talking about, we are looking at probably that mass burial site become a historical memory for the community, the Cookie community, and probably talking about what has happened during this violence here. So that is the concern that is being raised, whether there is politics being carried out on the bodies of the dead or not. But the fact remains, I told you it was a grey area. So being a grey area, it is very evident that of course the one community will remember its people when it comes to events like this, and the other will find it very difficult to see through it. What they claim is that they have not played politics with the dead, is what the Meiteis in fact would claim. But the Cookies would say that they need to give an honorable kind of an approach to those who have died in this violence, and their generation coming up should also know about what has happened. So this is where the issue will become a tinderbox, and the government will be in a very difficult position to navigate through this particular issue.
Now, taking a look at the politics that's happening in the center over Manipur, the opposition met the president right?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Prime Minister must address the Parliament on Manipur. They submitted memorandum seeking roadmap for peace, even as 14,000 school kids are hit. As many as the right number is 14,763 school kids that have been displaced in Manipur. People constantly trickling down from other places into Imphal. Metis coming back into Imphal. The Mizo Cookies stepping out. So many of them that have been displaced. Nodal officers of relief camps to facilitate admissions of these kids. In the Parliament, the opposition's pressure, do you think it's going to reap any benefits from the opposition's perspective when they're demanding the Prime Minister's statement? Prahlad Joshi, he said that, you're not letting us talk about Manipur. You want, for your own egoistic purposes, for your own political gains, you want the Prime Minister to come and speak here first. And for that, you're trying to curtail a discussion on Manipur.
Well, that is again going to be quite contentious, because the fact remains is that the opposition demand has been for the Prime Minister to make a statement on Manipur, while the NDA government has been saying that they would have a discussion on Manipur. It's not a requirement for the Prime Minister to come and make a statement on that. So that is the contention that has been there, and they would be fighting on it. Also, one interesting thing, a development that has happened in Manipur is this. The United Naga Council asked the state government to start update of NRC in Manipur. Why they are asking it? This is the reason. The influx of people from Myanmar will create a serious democratic crisis. NRC is the only feasible mechanism to curb the unwarranted population, says the apex body of Nagas, as it slams the center for its policy of encouraging inflow of people. So that is another development that has happened from the Naga Council on this.
Well, all right. We'll have to keep our ears and eyes on the ground. We've been getting you the good, the bad, the ugly, trying to focus on the good as much as possible.